In this video I'm going to show you how you can turn this into this in just a few easy to follow steps. So what do we need to start with? First thing you need is some stiff wire. Now you could go to your model shop, or you could just get a wire coat hanger from a friend who's just been to the dry cleaners. That's where I got mine from. What else do you need? Bit of flexible wire. This is kind of household wiring, but there's all kinds of wire about. I'm using a bit of this. 3 for the price of 1 there, but it's nicely bendy. As far as wheels go, I've already got a few knocking around. Plus, the other thing you'll need, of course, is some of these little collars to hold it on with. 10 for about £3 or £4, so cheap as chips. So next step, figure which model you're going to put this on. Now I've made about 15 conversions of cheap Lidl throw gliders into RC planes. I'm going to put an undercarriage on my number 14, which is a very lightweight one, but you could modify it to go on any small radio controlled plane. Now what I've done in the past with the Foamies is, as I did on my lovely twin fuselage little cheapy glider conversion, which has got a nice undercarriage, just melted into the foam here. Works well, and it flies like a beast, this. I'll put a link at the end. One of my best models out of the 14. It's actually made a very strong undercarriage mount. So the plan is to do very similar with the number 14 pink lightweight one. If it's not for a foamy model, you could easily modify this to fit it to a balsa model by using rubber bands and barbecue sticks. Anyway, let's make a start. First step is make a little template with the bendy wire, same shape and size as the undercarriage you want to build. Next step, mark on that template you've made with a marker pen where the bends are going to be. Like so. Then I'm going to straighten this out like so. Cut a piece of coat hanger the right length. I'm not going to be as wasteful as that. What I'm going to do is unscrew this. And if you don't know where you can get these, you can buy about 10 for a couple of pounds on eBay. So what I'm going to do anyway is, for economy of coat hanger, what I'm going to do is straighten that and only use this end section here. I should at least get another undercarriage out of that then. And now I'm going to transfer those marks onto the bit of wire coat hanger so that I can put the bends in the same place on that. Okay, and because it's a slightly curved undercarriage there, I'm actually going to put a little bend in that there. Before putting in my little bends there where the actual wheels are going to sit, let's test it against the fuselage. And it looks pretty damn good to me. Obviously I tested on the ground with my template to see just whether I'd have prop clearance at the front. So now I'm going to put my bends in the axles here, trying to make sure I get them in the right plane. You can always give it a bit of a tweak afterwards. That's not quite right. Easy enough to tweak it though. So we've got one there. Going to make sure that one's in the right place. Not quite. Actually, that wants to come out a bit. Let's get the shape of this right. Actually, it looks pretty good in the right place and the angles look equal to me. So I'm going to put the bend there, like that. And that's not bad. Just got to snib off about 2 mil from the end of that. But I think a little touch more there. Easy enough to bend it before you put it on. As it happens, these wheels will go nicely on that. So next job is mark with a biro exactly where I'm going to melt this in, because you only get one shot at putting it in. I mean, having said that, once you've actually committed and melted a hole in the fusee, you can tweak and rebend this a little bit to get it so that the axles are nice and horizontal across the fuselage. But I'm going to mark that up. I can't really do that on camera because I'm going to need all my hands, and I've only got two. And then we'll come back and I'll show you what it's like once I've actually melted a slot in the bottom of this Foamie chuck glider. In fact, I've just decided what I'm going to do is put the wheels on temporarily and put a couple of rubber bands around it and just see where it looks best, and then I'll mark it and melt a little slot in the base of the fuselage. Of course, it is dead easy with these Foamies to do this, but it would be dead easy to modify this design a little bit and put it onto any radio control plane. And of course, if you couldn't get bands around the area, you could always use a bit of sellotape across there just to hold it in position. But I want to see what this looks like and what kind of height I've got there. Well, that's not bad, but I'm going to tweak it a bit. I'm going to bend these back a bit so that I've got a bit more ground clearance. But I think that's going to do the job fine. But I could also put it further back on the fuselage. That would lift it up higher too. So I'm probably going to do that as well. And just temporarily fix it with a bit of tape to see what it looks like. But let's face it, that's the joy of a custom-made undercarriage on an aircraft. Right, with a bit of tape and a bit more bending, I think I've got that about right. Let's put it on the ground, see what it looks like. Right, well, I think the height's about right, but looking at it from the top, looks a bit narrow. I'm going to widen it a bit to make it a more stable base for taking off, yeah. Right, well, I reckon that's just about perfect. Got loads of ground clearance there for the prop. Nice width for a nice stable lateral base and good ground clearance. So I'm going to flip it over, mark the position and melt a small slot in the bottom of the fuselage. Right, well, that's where it's going. Wish me luck melting the hole. I'll just do it gently. There's plenty of meat in the base of these, even though I've melted it through to take the battery and so on. There's still plenty of meat in the bottom of this. So I think you'd be very unlucky to go right through and make a hole in the bottom, or very careless in fact. So there's my slot, just like so. So next step, a bit of hot glue in there. We'll hold it nicely. Might give it a little tweaky bend before I do, but it's not far out of alignment. When it's in this position, you can get a good line to see whether or not the axles are actually in line, and they're not quite. So I'll give it a little bend and then hot glue it. So there you have it, folks. Probably not my cleanest gluing job, hot gluing job, but who's going to see it under there? And I might just put some red tape over it to cover that up. That's what I did on the twin fuselage one. So of course, obviously you need a couple of these little collars to go on the ends here, cheap as chips. If you're really tight, you could do what I've actually done as a temporary measure. A blob of hot glue works quite nicely there. Or of course you could actually just hot glue a piece of this tube on the end. And it's not a bad idea to put a little bit of tube on the inside side of the axle as a little spacer. So there it is. I'm quite pleased with that. I think it looks pretty and it'll do the job. I must say though, I think it was false economy trying to maximise the use of that coat hanger, because where I've straightened it up it looks pretty tatty, so I think I'd have done better to actually just take it out of the straight part. But you live and learn with these things. Other little problem I might have is now I might have to add a rudder if it doesn't track properly when it's taking off. But the weather's so bad at the moment. I'm waiting for a proper kit actually from China. I'm going to build the first balsa kit that I've built for several years. So nothing much to do at the moment, and I was contemplating doing this and I thought you guys might find it interesting. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a like and please check out some of the other stuff on my channel. As I say, 15 of these cheap little Foamie £10 glider conversions, including this lovely twin fusee one here, and you might find it interesting if you've got nothing to do. You might find it interesting if you've got plenty to do. But I'll stop waffling on. If you're enjoying my videos, please consider subscribing. I'm just about 70 or 80 away from 8,000 subscribers now, and you might just tip me into the 8K, which would be great. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I'll leave you with my top tips for cheap foamy conversions and a flight of my twin fuselage Lidl conversion, which was absolutely great. And hopefully I will catch you all again later. Bye for now.